speaking of our focus this morning, consumers are paying high electricity tariffs despite ongoing power cuts by Eskom. A 9.6% tariff increase came into effect for Eskom customers in April, and a municipal hike is expected in July. eNCA's Heidi Jockers is speaking to consumers about the cost of electricity, and she joins us now for that update. Morning to you, Heidi. I think just last night I checked on social media. North Riding, undoubtedly trending there because of power cuts, and people lament that they're paying so much in terms of electricity tariffs, rent and extra costs, but it seems they're not getting the satisfaction they deserve. What are you hearing from the ground from consumers?
Yes, I think that is the big problem here, Tumelo, the fact that you are expected to pay a certain amount of money every month at the end of the month for electricity. However, most of the time we don't have electricity because there's load shedding or there's an issue with city power, and a lot of the time consumers are sitting in the dark. This is a huge problem that many face on a daily basis, but also the massive electricity increase that we are expected to pay every single year. We do know that Eskom tried to get a 20.5% increase for the 2022-23 financial year. Of course, the regulator NERSA only granting a 9.61% increase. But you might think to yourself, what is a 9.61% electricity increase? It's massive at the end of the day because you're paying almost 10% more than what you were paying the previous year for your electricity. Also, water is going up as well. And the other big issue is the fact that you have electricity reductions, not just load shedding, but also there is reductions in certain areas, specifically the townships, because many of them are non-paying customers, and Eskom is trying to find a way to deal with this. A big problem, Tumelo, is the fact that a lot of the municipalities are not paying Eskom. And when we got a chance to speak to Eskom CEO Andrew Director early last week, he did indicate that this is a massive problem. South Africans sit back and say, we have load shedding for X amounts of days. Why should we be paying so much money for electricity when we don't even have that electricity because we sit in darkness for most of the time? Big problem is the fact that many of these municipalities are defaulting. I want us to listen to what the CEO had to say about that.
You refer to the fact that people pay. Well, some people pay. Municipalities don't pay us. We are owed 47 billion rand by municipalities. Just in the past financial year, 7.2 billion rand was not paid to us.
Heidi, with that being said, there was an energy indaba held quite recently right here in Johannesburg to try and come up with solutions to this, right? The blackout, but also the cost. And also what came out of the summit, as well as other conversations, is alternative energy. And I wonder, which is the cheaper option between, paying for Eskom or seeking out alternative, energy and electricity? And I wonder if that's the conversation that in most households are being held as to where exactly affordability is gearing towards.
Yes, and I think it's an important point you touch on, which was something that was front and center at the Energy Indaba, and a lot of households are probably having this discussion among themselves, is how do you get off the grid, because it's becoming so expensive, it's unreliable. City of Johannesburg has alluded to the fact that they are trying to find ways to get off, to not be as dependent on Eskom anymore because of constant load shedding, of aging infrastructure. They want to find alternative ways to keep their residents constantly connected and not be subjected to load shedding, but also other issues. And the big issue here, Tumelo, is the fact that many are asking why South Africa is not moving to renewable energy and to perhaps have part of us being connected with renewable energy such as sun. It is, what's the time now? It's 8:30 in the morning. The sun is blazing. Yes, it's a cold winter's day, but we have an advantage of the sun. Why aren't we using it? We also have wind, and many are saying we should be using this so that we don't have a problem of very high electricity prices, but also unreliable, because because of load shedding and other factors here. So many households might be having the discussion, or many have already moved to solar, because they are saying, I'll rather have my solar panels on my roof. It will light up my house. It will provide the necessary electricity, and I don't have to be subjected to nurses' decision of 9% or 10%, and Eskom wanting us to pay the 20% tariff increase. So you can see the conversation shifting, but it's taking too long, and households are not coping. People are just not coping with the cost of living. You have so much to pay for electricity, so much to pay for water, never mind what we are paying for fuel, which we do now, our colleagues are focusing on. But of course we are trying to understand better what consumers are dealing with, but also we know we'll be speaking to the MMC of Finance in the city later on to see how they are trying to help residents in the city of Johannesburg.
Yeah, decisions have to be made in almost every household right here in South Africa, whether to stay on the grid or to stay off, but at all depending on affordability. Hari Jokos, thank you so much for bringing the story to the fore.